Once upon a time, in a lush and vibrant forest, there lived a little bird with bright blue feathers and curious eyes. This bird was born with wings strong enough to touch the clouds and a heart full of dreams that soared even higher. Every morning, it would flap its tiny wings and follow the wind, gliding through the golden sky with joy and wonder. It sang the sweetest melodies, waking up the trees, the rivers, and the sleepy sun. But as time passed, the forest began to change. The skies grew crowded with noise, smoke, and confusion from a world that had forgotten to listen. The bird began to stay closer to the ground, perching more often on branches rather than flying freely. It watched as the other birds flew past, chasing goals, tasks, and numbers. Some flew faster, some higher, and some in circles, unsure of their own direction. The little bird started to question its own purpose. What if flying was no longer important? What if the world didn't need another song? What if dreams were just feathers falling from broken wings? So it stopped flying. It stopped singing. It sat in silence, day after day, watching life go by like a river it no longer wished to enter. Seasons passed, and the bird grew older, not in feathers but in thoughts. Its wings, once strong and eager, now rested quietly against its sides. One day, a gust of wind rushed through the trees, and a small chick fell from a high branch. The little bird, without thinking, spread its wings and dove to catch it. In that moment, it remembered the sky. It remembered the feeling of freedom, the dance of the air, and the rhythm of its heartbeat in flight. It landed safely with the chick in its wings, and for the first time in years, it looked up. The clouds were still there. The sun still shimmered through the leaves. The wind still whispered its old name. And in that moment, the bird realized it had never lost its purpose, only forgotten it. Purpose isn't about flying the highest or singing the loudest. Purpose is about being ready to rise when the moment calls. It's about remembering that even stillness is part of the flight. The little bird began to fly again, not to escape, not to compete, but to remember. It flew because it could. It flew because its heart still beat with the music of the sky. It flew to remind the forest that some dreams only sleep, they never die. The other animals watched in awe as the blue bird soared once more. Not as a performer, not as a leader, but as itself. Its wings carried a message not spoken but felt by all who saw. Sometimes we forget why we were born with wings. We get lost in the noise, the pressure, the race. But our purpose isn't gone, it's waiting quietly inside us. Waiting for us to remember. Waiting for us to rise. The bird who had forgotten to fly had become the bird who taught others to remember. Not with words but with flight. Not with force but with presence. And in doing so, it found its purpose once more. Not in flying for the world but in flying for itself. Because the sky is not a place, it's a feeling. And every heart that dares to rise carries a piece of it within. The story of the bird is the story of all of us. We fall. We forget. We sit quietly with doubt and silence. But the wind never forgets our name. It waits. And when we are ready, it lifts us again. Because purpose is not something we find, it's something we awaken. So fly, little bird. Fly not to be seen but to see. Fly not to impress but to feel. Fly not to escape but to return. Return to yourself. Return to your sky. Return to your purpose. Because the bird that forgot to fly still had wings. And so do you.